So, oops. Going back on our collaboration aspect of this TCLC, we are going to be discussing our targeted groups intervention and content, which is, I know that you all already set up your plans for that. And we're going to be discussing your SLOs and targeted skills during your intervention. So pretty much how we could embed both at the same time, right? And we could target our SLOs and then we could target our intervention based on our SLOs, skills, and areas of needs. So intervention groups. How did I choose these groups? What's the difference between, how can I know whether I could do a small group versus a one-on-one, and using my time effectively? So like I mentioned, I know that you all updated and drafted an intervention plan, and I'm just going to go based on one, right? So my question to you, and like I said, this TCLC is more of an open discussion, and Ms. Cabrera will be meeting with you all later on to give you feedback on your plans and additional details. So my question to you is, how is it that you came up with the targeted group? And I know you could raise your hand. I know that if you, I would like the participation of everyone. So if you could either unmute yourself or you could write it in the chat, raise your hand. That way I could know who would want to reply. So like I said, you have targeted groups. So how is it, for example, that you chose these specific three? And this is just I just opened Ms. Ortega's, but if anyone like to share, I could open theirs.
On mine, where is it? Okay, thank you. I hadn't seen the screen. Sorry, on mine, I chose based on I wrote their TPRI target group. So once I heard them, most of the students that I had came in to get tested. So once I heard the way that they were reading, some of them, I did notice they could not blend the sounds. So those automatically did come out frustrational, which is color coded on TPRI red. So that's how I realized I had to create a group specifically just for fluency, and then a separate group for comprehension, which were the students who in TPRI were identified with yellow color code, and they were they could read very slowly, but they could sound out and blend the words together. So because they were reading slowly, their comprehension was a little bit lower. So they were, if you go down to the second page, I believe that's the comprehension group. Those are the kids that can read to me very slowly, and that's where they need help with comprehension. And it's just a little bit of both. I am going to be targeting fluency with them, but hand in hand with comprehension. And with the group above that are non-readers, they're going to be first. I'm going to target phonics first with them, and then bringing in comprehension based on the tutoring material that I got with picture questions.
Awesome. Yes. Awesome. Very good. Well explained. Thank you for that. And yes, as you notice, they're all different, right? The students, it might be to where Ms. Ortega might be needing like different resources for each group, because as we could tell, they're not on the same level. But that would be going into a little bit more in detail, and Ms. Cabrera will go into detail about what resources she might have for you. Absolutely. Thank you. Would anyone else like to share? That way I could pull yours up. If not, I'll just go based on, I want to hear. I know Miss Peña, for example, I know you've been working hand in hand with Miss Ortega. Is there any, as a new teacher, is there any specific questions that you may have regarding this? Or you're good to go? Well, anything else you need from us?
By looking at what Ms. Ortega had, like the examples that she provided for me, I was able to, I guess, see it more clearly as far as what was expected for me. But for my groups, I basically did the same thing. For example, my first three, I went ahead and did fluency for them since they were my frustrational ones. And one of them was not frustrational, but it did take about 11 minutes for him to read one of the passages for me. And I have noticed through observations in the classroom, his tests are coming out with hundreds, but I have noticed that his mom helps him a lot. So I still went ahead and I guess what I'm observing, and by cold calling them with the Class Dojo app, I'm noticing who needs, I guess, more help with math or with the comprehension, because most of my students are getting hundreds in their progress monitoring, and I know it's
a little bit different, right? Like with this situation that we're in, trying to get that parent, not to help seeing a good picture, but I like what you mentioned that, the cold calls help a lot. The parent might not be there at that moment, and that's going to help with that in mind. And if you notice, I believe you have, this is reading, then I have no. So most of the time, the students might not be the same, right? Like it might not be to where this student can be stronger in math. They might not need that intervention, but you are going to be calling them out for reading or vice versa. So I will set up your action plans. They're well targeted. Like I said, Ms. Cabrera will go more into a little bit more in detail, or even Ms. Yardal will pull up with you as to what is it specifically, any changes or resources that she might have for you. Thank you, Ms. Peña, for sharing. And again, I know that feel free, Ms. Ortega is really good in helping you, and I know the rest of your team as well, but don't be afraid to reach out to me or Ms. Villarreal or anything like that, and in regards to any of this or resources. All right, Ms. Garcia.
Yes. Because I wanted to ask you in regards to the fluency. I know that you, of course, we give them the story. Do we keep up with that story to see how they do? Like we monitor with the same story, or do we change it every week? Or how are we supposed to go by doing the fluency? I just want to make sure.
Are you talking about the SLOs?
No, well, I don't know if it has, I guess it has to do with the SLO too, but like in fluency, I guess in general, like fluency, I know we give them a story. And then do we keep up with that story? Like, do we keep monitoring that story to make sure that they at least, they did some growth on that story for fluency? Or do we do it like 1 week? Or is it per day, or how are we supposed to do the fluency?
So for your fluency, let me pull up.
Like, do you understand what I'm saying? Sorry, I don't know if I'm making it confusing.
Yeah, I definitely understand. So for your fluency, for example, the way I know that I'm talking to you, but I'm going to turn off your microphone because I think I can't hear enough.
Okay.
There you go. Sorry about that. And I know I didn't want to mute you because I know that I'm responding to your specific question. But for your fluency, the way it works is that if you use your SAVAs right, you have fluency and then you have your cold reads. For example, is not so much use that same one, but you want to see if they're progressing, then you would use your on level, you're developing your on level, and then they're advanced. So that way you could see. Savas has a lot of them that you could present. That way they don't see the same one over and over and over again. You could just use different one. From my understanding, second grade will be doing fluency, if I'm not mistaken, every week. Right, and then you have your DMR, Sharon Wells, and then writing later on. So you would have that as to where you could do it weekly, right? And you really don't want to use that same one so that they won't get bored like with the whole like same story and same so forth. And you could pretty much the way and Sabas, aside from it being our adoption, Sabas, the way it's set up, as you were able to tell, that it was both, right? So you could check their fluency and their code rates. But you would want to see a progress with different passages, so just so that they won't see the same story over and over again. But the system itself, as checking their fluency, you'll be able to see their progress with the different passages because they go by word per minute. I'm not too sure if that answers your question.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Yes, all right.
All righty, thank you for that question. Let me see. Sorry. Okay, so anything you would like to tell me, Miss, about your intervention plan? mentioned, it's pretty much similar to each teacher is just different, like groupings, right, based on students.
Well, I kind of, I'm gonna go with what Ms. Ortega and Ms. Peña, I guess we kind of did it as a grade level. We kind of based it off on the RTI.
Yeah.
And how we our kids did, and like she mentioned, right away when we started testing them, with the reading passages, with the little reading stories, we kind of noticed more or less who are the ones, the non-readers and the readers. And we based it off the color coding on how they did on the report. So that's kind of how I kind of, I grouped them as well. Mm-hmm.
That's good. And it's good that you even though it might be targeted by student and by teacher, it's good that you all plan together because each know what resources you have, where to pull out, and the teach itself that or the expectations. Thank you for pointing that out. And Ms. Rodriguez, I know it might be repeated, but just so that you could have a little bit input on your intervention plan. What can you tell me? I know yours is in Spanish.
Yes, it's in Spanish. Well, just basically the same thing. My first group, the way I sectioned it was like the first group are the ones that completely cannot read at all. Like they did not say one single word. And then we have the other groups that are also like as well, struggling to blend, right, and to create that word. So I created 2 groups. I just had a question. I don't know if this would work. I was thinking of maybe doing Monday, right, with my first group, targeting fluency, and then moving down to comprehension as well on that same day, so we can work on. And then the second group, do it on Tuesday, fluency and comprehension, separating those 2 groups into different days, and then math would just be Wednesday. But math, like I said, I had already talked to Ms. Cabrera about it, that I have at least 3 parents with their students, with their kids, right, that don't know how to read English. So they've been asking if I can give them their work in Spanish. She suggested not to. So what I've been doing is giving them videos, kind of helping them out, explaining the video, the work, the problems. So I don't know if I should break the group into 2 groups or just keep them all in one and work with them on Wednesday, or maybe, split them up in 2 days.
Okay, so you're mentioning, so from these students, there's some students that don't know English, right? That you might want to target a little bit more on the vocabulary aspect of it?
Yes.
Okay, so if anything, but are they lacking, they're lacking the same skill?
Yes.
So basically what you would, like the way I would recommend, right, is you would have this group, right? Or you could keep, because you're targeting the skill itself. And then if anything, that extra time that you may have, you could pull out those students that are lacking the English, vocabulary, and just target them as a separate group. So that you can work specifically on just vocabulary, the developing of the language itself, not so much language, but the language of like math language, vocabulary itself. So that would be an idea.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah, because they're struggling, to read in Spanish, so English, like completely.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Not too sure if Ms. Hernandez wants to add anything on hers or anything additional. I know that she's been helping us with the intervention groups themselves.
I was going to ask, are we going to be using double readers from Sabas?
I'm sorry, Ms. Val, I could barely hear you. Might be your mic. We'll wait. We'll be using the decodable from Sabas. So that's one of the things that Ms. Villarreal will be pointing out, I'm sorry, Ms. Cabrera, like the resources that you might need and what we could be using more in detail once she meets with you, depending on the student's need and depending on your intervention plan. So we do have a lot of resources that we could choose from, and then it would just be based on, either the grade level or by teacher as to